Cliff.
Hi.
Hello,
Hi,
hello,
hi, hi.
everybody, and welcome. So tonight we are discussing relationships, and I always ask myself, if relationships are so good, if love is so beautiful, how come love is so painful? So, as you know, I'm very interested in young people and how their lives unfold. So, tonight I have invited young people to share with us their experiences, their views about relationships, and also about how parents get involved and how adults and society influence the decisions that young people make in relationships. So we have people that are pro commitment and stuff, and people that are saying, nah, not for me. So we'd really love to hear from you what your opinions are about relationships for young people, what really creates problems. So tonight I'm with Cliff, Ricardo, and Samge. Please introduce yourselves. I'll start with Cliff.
Good evening, everyone. I'm in between marriages at the moment, if I can say.
Wow.
I'm a father of three, but recently divorced as of last year, so I'm a bit complicated for now.
Okay, all right, Cliff. In between, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Samge?
Okay, I'm Samgel Makubu. I'm married. I have a child, 1-year-old boy.
Right.
So I'm not complicated. I'm straight. I'm married.
You are the straight one. Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah. Okay. And Ricardo?
Yeah, hi. My name is Ricardo Kutai Mohue, and I'm single, but I've definitely had my own trials and tribulations in relationships. And yeah, I'm interested in sharing with you guys and hearing your opinions about certain things because I believe I'm still a young man compared to
Okay. All right. So thank
Fair
you.
enough.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on. So one of the biggest challenges is that you know how young people may experience problems in their personal relationships. I think we have an echo somewhere.
I think we can mute ourselves, and then when you are talking, then you can unmute.
Yes, please do. All right. So we have a lot of young people, and I mean, for adults as well. So a lot of problems happen because of relationships. So when we look at young people and how things are unfolding for them, there are so many things that are happening that could be happening in a different way, but maybe this is how things are meant to be. But if young people are going through the same problems that today's adults, you know, like older people and our grandparents are going through, then surely there has to be a way to look at what is it that we can do today to ensure that they don't have to really go through the same struggles that most adults have gone through. So tonight, I would like you to share with us. So someone said to me, you know, some parents are bored, so they are forcing you to get married, and then so that you can have children, and then they have somebody to look after. And then somebody said, no, you know, this thing of having committed relationships is not working. You know, so it's nicer to have multiple and to move from one person to the other. So what are your opinions? What are your opinions about how young people are conducting themselves? Yes, Ricardo.
Well, for me to start with, I would say if your parents are forcing you to get married, to have kids, I feel like it's your job as an individual to speak for yourself and make your parents understand where you are right now in life. Maybe with your mindset, maybe you're not ready, and it's your responsibility to tell them that you're not ready. And if they don't agree with you, I think you shouldn't take it personal. You should try and find a way to work around it and just keep doing what you feel like is right. Because at times I feel like, yes, as much as parents are as much as parents are our parents, right? they also have minds of their own, and we also have our own mind. So we have to take the life that we think is right, because at the end of the day, if your parents were not there with you, what would you do? That's the kind of thing you have to think of.
Okay, lovely. But do parents actually do that? Do they actually force young people to say, now you are old now, it's time for you to now go out and find a partner? Do they really do that?
They
Yes, there
tend
is
to.
some. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
Samge?
Yeah, I think, they do tend to remind you, maybe for lack of a better word, to remind you that you are growing up. Maybe it is time for you to think about marriage.
Okay.
And I believe that is forcing the idea of marriage when someone is not ready. Because if you keep reminding me about, maybe it's time, in other words, you're trying to tell me that, listen, you need to go out there and get married. Can we not just wait and let it come whenever it is the right time? So I believe they do. And sometimes it's unintentionally, and sometimes it is.
Okay. I saw Ricardo's hand is up. Yes?
Yes, I would say I kind of disagree with the notion of right time and wait for something to come, because I feel like maybe here you have to look at a person, let's say me and my parents, right? You have to look at both of us and judge both of us from different standpoints. Maybe my parents see something I don't see, and they're trying to help me. So I understand where the parent is coming from when it's like a girl, there comes a certain age.
Okay, a girl, Ricardo.
Yes. No, I'm gonna talk about the guy part, but I'm saying when it's a girl, there comes, if you look at maybe even back in the day when a girl grows up, they usually say that she's not allowed to stay in, like, at the house for a very long time. That if your parent has that traditional mindset, you're not allowed to stay.
Is the man allowed to stay at are you saying that men are allowed to stay at their parents' house, like, for as long as they want? Is it just us
Especially
that needs to?
born, if they're last borns, ne?
I'm not saying that that's allowed, but I'm saying that that's the kind of mindset that parents have, because that's how they were raised. That when you reach a certain age, a girl has to go out and get married, and a guy, since he's like continuing the name, right? He stays at home and takes care of the homestead, so everybody can still come through and chill that side, because the homestead always needs to have somebody. And since a girl is taking the surname of the guy, she has to now go into the family of the guy and take care.
But that's different, right? It's different. It's always when there's maybe, I don't know, it's different from a culture to culture. So I'm Zulu, so I know that if there's like 4 boys in the family and 2 girls, for example, not all of you are going to now stay at home and try to rebuild the family house. 2 of you needs to get out and go out and build your own homes, and the last one can stay, maybe. And it's not always the case. It's not always the case.
Samge, last born. Cliff, what are your opinions? What do you think? So the critical thing that I would really like us to get out of tonight is why are young people still going through the same problems that their parents, their grandparents have gone through? What are the things that we really need to put on the table to say, how can we avoid the pain? How can we, or must we just go through the pain? They're fine, everybody, as Isha's and we just feel the pain. So what are the things that have to be looked at? Is it maybe that we have unrealistic expectations? Uguti, your partner should be like this, or the parents should. What is creating? What can we do to prevent the problems? Cliff, what do you think?
I've been blessed with 3 girls, so yeah, guiding them into the proper type of, hopefully, a loving relationship is high on my priority. I believe in letting somebody experience things for themselves, but like I said, the main word here is guidance. So if I wouldn't put pressure as such to say, look, now you're 25, so go and get married, or now you're 16 and you should start dating. I hope my daughter is not dating yet, but my parents were not that my parents were not that accommodating. I was actually like what we just discussed. I was told like, oh, it's time, my man, you better find a woman. If you don't, you need help, we'll find you somebody. And they had expectations of whom and when I should, get into a marriage with. But the experience I had and how I've developed as a human being, I wouldn't want to pass that on to the next generation. So hopefully it ends with us and we let our children decide for themselves.
What did you mean when you said they said you have a problem? What did you mean?
Well, in my case, I was raised by a single mom. So she wanted to have a leading role, let's say, in selecting the perfect makoti. And then I went and got somebody, actually wanted to prove her wrong and marry a Chinese woman if possible, because she was always telling me, don't marry outside of your tribe. I was like, Mom, if I fall in love with a Russian girl, I will marry a Russian girl.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
That's the spirit, Cliff.
Okay. So
like
guys, let us find solutions. What makes relationships not to work? Okay, maybe first of all, I like what Ricardo said, like about timing, that there's no right or wrong time. But what is creating all of these problems? Are we holding on too much on people that when those people leave us or they are not interested in us, then we have no direction? Well, are we holding on too much? What is the problem?
I think the problem is discipline and principles. We lack that. Like, we always put what the body needs, right? So I believe in life, there's spirit and there's the body, which is the earthly, right? So, for instance, people always give the body whatever it craves, but they neglect the spiritual side of life, Sometimes when your body is reacting or feeling aroused by somebody, it doesn't mean that you have to partake in certain activities. It just means that, I'm receiving this person's energy, and let me try and talk to her and see the kind of mindset the person has. Do they align with what I want in life, And I think we skip those stages and we rush to want what is being advertised by certain celebrities, people call it relationship goals. I think that's what put pressure on most youth, and also the trends that you have.
Okay, so Ricardo he didn't call a spade, he called a spade a club. But okay, so I'll share with you. So a few days ago, I came across a post, beautiful young woman who posted and said, she's inviting single people to go away together for a weekend. And I was amazed that there were like over 300, and it was like within a day, over 300 people that are willing, and they're giving their numbers to say, we also want to go. And they're so open about it. They're saying how much they want to be there. They want the spade that we are not calling Ricardo. They're open about it to say, this is what we want. We're just going there for that and nothing else. So looking at that kind of response versus a response where we say people must be in committed relationships. Why are we seeing so many young people that are willing to explore and to just do things and go with the flow? Are we going to label them as bad? Are we going to label them as what are we gonna call that? Because there can't be so many young people that are keen and willing to do this if there is no benefit out of it. So where should society go? What should we do?
For me, personally, I think we have to start with the consumption that we have with television. media plays a very big role in our lives. As much as people don't recognize it, the movies that you watch, you have to see what they're promoting, and they're promoting, I would say, a false narrative, because I believe that when you marry somebody, you're not always going to be happy, but people always want or go looking for someone that's going to make them happy. And once that person disappoints in that aspect, they are very quick to leave, to be like, I'm not happy anymore, so now I'm going to move on to the next thrill. They're not willing to sit down with themselves and ask themselves, why am I not happy? Because it's not the partner's responsibility to be making sure that you are happy. It's within yourself. Yes, I'm happy, but then I'm bringing this emotion with me to try and share it with you. But if you're not in the same zone as me, you're not going to feel my frequency. You know what I mean?
Cool.
I agree. Yeah.
So, I'm thinking about your question here, and I'm trying to figure out how to answer it. When you said our grandmothers and everyone before us, they've gone through this, it's painful. We are experiencing it as well. So, how do we make sure that going forward, those that come after us, they not go through this heartache and everything that we are experiencing? So I would say in my view is that when we were growing up, like we never had these open conversations like we are having right now. So we were never told like things that we needed to know before, I would say, we commit or before we are in serious relationship. But now we have an opportunity to go out there and talk to young people and say, listen, if you want to start a relationship, you listen, you explore a relationship and experience everything that you want. You have a right to be single until you want to. You have also a right to say no. At the age of 20, I want to get married. But you must expect these things that they're going to happen. And maybe let's educate each other about the mistakes that I have experienced as Samuel, that I know that they've got a negative impact in the relationship. And then it's going to be up to Ricardo if he's going to take my advice whenever he starts or decides to be in a relationship. But if we're going to have open conversations, I think that will help it will help the younger generation not to experience what we have already experienced in a relationship.
But for me, I kind of have a problem with that whole thing of go and explore a relationship until you find what you're looking for. I don't believe in that narrative per se. Yes, I believe that you meet people, right, for a reason, like seasons, right? You meet people for seasons, people that are going to help you maybe evolve as a human being, but then you also have a person that's going to come into your life and be a life partner, or you're going to meet somebody that's just there to maybe help you move forward and you feel stuck, but they're going to give you that extra push you need. So I kind of don't support the thing of going into one relationship and the next because you're trying to discover what you like. You have, for me, that always leads to people end up contacting diseases through that way, which that's what I've seen. Most people suffer from diseases because of that. Let me go and try this one. It didn't work.
Yeah. It's true. That's what I used to say. That is so true. That's what I used to say. I was like, I used to say, if it were for me, I would say, because God says each and every one of us, we have like, your soulmate. So why didn't he just make me to just bounce into my soulmate and then we just continue with life? But life is not like Ricardo. I can't just date one person and it's like, okay, you need to try and you will fail. It's simple. It's like life. In life, you will choose a career. I want to be an accountant.
Yes.
And then it doesn't work out. You need to try another career. and see if that will work out. And my experience when I was 20 years old, thinking I'm going to be an accountant, it's not going to be the same as now. Now I know what I want because I've been in that position of being, okay, I'm an accountant and it's not working out. Now I know what I want. Do you know what I mean?
But my point
I want to
is,
go back to what Ricardo said. Sorry, Ricardo.
Life
He mentioned
experience.
something that is so critical. He said, if you go into a relationship, he didn't say verbatim like that. He said, if you go into a relationship, you can't go in expecting the other person to make you happy. So that means you must be happy yourself and bring the happy you into the relationship.
Yeah.
Because if you are a complete human with a balanced human and you go into a relationship, whatever the other person does should not impact you because you are happy anyway. So you're not expecting them to make you happy. And it's such a big responsibility. If you can't make yourself happy, but you want somebody's child to make you happy, that's a huge responsibility. So how do we help young people? Because one of those things, and I like also the fact that we watch too much of these shows where people are expecting to be made happy by somebody else. You make me happy. But it's a huge responsibility. So how do we help people to be happy themselves and go into a relationship as a happy person? And that's where now the soulmate thing comes in. Your soulmate comes in. Do you think that a soulmate is somebody who's not going to give you problems? You think so?
No.
Well, you actually grow with the challenges. Like, let's say if we can guide our children to go through this exploration phase and date responsibly, hopefully. But anybody who's been married will tell you that. Anybody who's been married will tell you that you actually grow. For example, I saw a meme somewhere where they were saying someone approached a couple that had been happily married for 60 years and asked, "What's your secret? How did you?" Because like what Ricardo says, today we see this glitter and Hollywood lifestyle on TV and expect so much, put so much pressure on also attaining what you think is a reality show, but it's fake, it's news. I mean, it's not news, it's actually a movie. So they say that they were evolving as a couple. The person that you married, let's say 5 years later, they've changed, and you flow with them as they grow, so that you are matching whatever version they are in that particular stage of life. That was the secret. So most of us, like maybe in my case and my ex-spouse, the honeymoon phase didn't last. So instead of adjusting to say, okay, now we are sort of like at this stage where we've changed and our priorities, our values, now we've got kids, we've got issues, and we've got a bond, we've got all these other things that we didn't have 10 years ago. But if you can grow and match each other at each stage of life, then I think your relationship can flow a lot easier.
All right.
Yes, and I would like to go to a point that she made of saying that what I meant by saying that you shouldn't be jumping to the next relationship. I'm not saying you should date one person. When you go start a course, right? And maybe it's not something that you really like, you still struggle through and finish it, right? To get your degree or whatever. So what I'm saying is, when you get into a relationship with somebody and maybe let's say tomorrow they do something wrong, then you're already leaving them, which now you're going to the next person. To me, that doesn't make sense. Give it time and see this person, understand, and maybe you can learn something from them. Sometimes I feel like as people, right, when we get into relationships, as soon as we get hurt, we never question what we did wrong. We always say they did something wrong. She was the one who did this. He was the one who did this. No, but what did you do that led to him or her doing those actions? You projected yourself in a certain way,
Yeah.
and we always miss those kind of points when it comes to relationships. It's always, no, you did this, but then what did I do to put you in that state? Yes, maybe you might have cheated, right? You are definitely wrong, but what did I do to make you think of cheating? You get what I mean? It's a question
that's amazing. Yes. So that also comes back to understanding your person and what is important to them. So, some gay, like in your case, being being married, how much do you? I mean, how much do you understand your husband? Like, do you know the things that are important to him? Does he know the things that are important to you?
So, wow. The thing is,
Okay,
people cut. No, but like people change, hey, as they grow, like they become different persons, right? So in the beginning, when we are dating, I understand what you want. You understand what I want. But for example, for me, what I wanted back then, it's not what I want now. But what's important is that I am very vocal about it. I'm telling you that, okay, I no longer like XYZ. I want this now. So that you also know. So for me, communication is very important. You need to know that I am no longer into tennis. I like cricket now. So do not stick or buy me things that will force me to do tennis. I'm not there anymore. So if I communicate and he's aware of it, then it makes the relationship or the marriage flow. But the problem is that we don't always communicate about those things.
Yes,
Especially when you are married.
Yeah.
Especially when you are married. We tend to think about, oh my God, what he's going to think about me changing my hobbies now, or me thinking differently now.
Yes.
Is he going to love me less? Is he going to accept me? Or, and then the communication will start to lack, and then the relationship starts to die down. So in a marriage, it's like that. You need to find a way or make time to make sure that you communicate what you like and what makes you happy to your partner. And also ask him, are you still interested in soccer? Are you still a big fan of Kaizer Chiefs? So that you understand.
But do you think ask him or observe? Which one would work better?
I would say
ask them?
Both.
No,
Because I do not want to. I would observe, but I need to make sure that what I'm seeing is right.
you have to ask,
On the issue of communication, sorry, as a guy, maybe I would like to ask you, the ladies. I understand there's this form of communication that is used only by women, and it's called the silent treatment. So when you do the silent treatment, what are you communicating to your partner? If you can just balance me there, because I've seen it and I've experienced it. Someone goes silent for a week and says, when I ask what's wrong, like, you know what's wrong. You know what you did. I'm like, no, I don't. But apparently when she's silent, I'm psychic. I should know what's wrong. And
some case,
this like silent treatment means I'm not ready. I'm not ready to talk about that. It might be because I've been addressing the same issue over and over again that I'm tired of talking about it. It might mean that the issue is obvious, you're just not wanting to see it. Or it simple means just give me space. I will be ready. We will talk.
No, but for me, I disagree with the silent treatment. I feel like if
which
you're not
part?
ready to
The explanation or doing it?
I feel like doing. I disagree with doing it and feeling, leaving a person blank to try and make them think that I understand that you're not ready. Tell me that you're not ready to talk, and I'm gonna leave you until you're ready to come back and talk to me. Don't just be like shrug me off and then expect me to know, like, oh my gosh, I did something, and now I'm in trouble. Tell me that no, I'm not. You did something wrong, but I'm not ready to talk about it yet. I'm gonna talk about it.
I'm going to tell you when the first time it happens that, okay, listen, I'm being silent because I'm not ready to talk to you. Do not forget that. Remember it. So that when it happens, we don't experience. It is what it is, guys.
You can't tell me once. You can't tell me once.
I'm not you every single time.
Yeah. So, Cliff, what I want to ask you is, So do you think when you get the silent treatment, does it work in the
It
end?
doesn't work. It doesn't
Doesn't
work.
work.
Like I'm saying, I'm not psychic. I can't read your mind. So if
Yeah.
I've done something, because half the time it's a perception. She thinks I know and I'm ignoring why I'm indifferent. But honestly, I wouldn't. I have no clue. To the point where after 2-3 days, I pick up like, look, she's being silent. We drive to work for an hour in traffic. She doesn't say a single word. Then
Yeah.
I have to ask and dig it out from you to say what's wrong. What? And then it comes out, well, you did 1, 2, 3. I'm like, oh, we could have spoken about like what some case were saying. Then she wants to talk and say, look, it means you did 1, 2, 3. I don't want to repeat myself. I don't want, but you didn't tell me from the onset, which, like you know how we deal with children. When a child misbehaves, you spank them right there and then they know it's wrong, they stop doing it. So
Yeah. Okay,
Maybe
what's the message
maybe what
that you
would
want to
work.
send out there?
Maybe
No.
what would work, Cliff, is that if you notice that okay, Samye is now silent, then ask, is this the right time?
We've lost you a bit, Samge.
Can you tell me what's bothering you? Honest. Most of the time, can you still hear me?
yeah, now we
Yes,
can hear.
yes,
now?
yes.
Yes, I was saying most of the time, guys, they do know what's going on and why ladies are being so silent. Just choose to ignore it.
No, 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 no. Me, I disagree. I feel like I feel like yes, maybe as a guy sometimes when a lady, I don't believe in 50-50, right? And I don't believe in independence. I think independence is is impossible because to give birth to somebody, you need two people. It's already a dependent relationship. So I feel like we are born to be people that are dependent, but we want to be independent, right? But my point that I was trying to say is if somebody is silent, yes, as a guy, maybe I should ask what's wrong, right? Maybe on that day you're not 100%, so I should ask, no, what's wrong? But then the problem with the ladies, if you ask her what's wrong, she's gonna say, and you're like, but I'm asking you because I don't know. What's up?
Exactly.
So there's a comment here from the viewers. Unati says, couples, if they're interested in each other's lives or well-being, need to pay attention to the body language and the way your partner communicates. So does it give you some clues, Cliff?
No. With the body language, if you can excuse me, once again, ladies, sometimes I think it's just that time of the month you are having your pains. So you're being quiet, you're in pain, it's fine. But then eventually, that's when, like I said, my favorite phrase is 2-3 days of silence. Then I pick up like, look, it's something here. And you've been quiet. If it was body language, I would have picked it up. Like normally, when you're dropping off at work, you give me a hug and a kiss, see you later. And then that day, you open the door, you go without bye-bye or anything. So then I'm left wondering again. If I know what's wrong, I will communicate as a human being and say, look, I think one to this. So
okay, so what can women do? Okay, what do you want to communicate?
Yes. Yes,
I
just
feel
to
like
be
women-
open. I promise you, men are not mind readers. We do not ignore a problem. We do not do it to spite you. Because I had this period where she says, you're just doing it to be nasty. I'm like, but why would I be nasty? I would prefer you to be happy. You are a better person when you're happy. So she thought like what somebody was saying, like, you know what you did, but you just don't want to address the issue. So
yeah.
Can
All
I
right,
pose
so I
a
have
question?
a question. I have a question. Oh, do you have a question, Samge?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to ask: is it too hard when you see a person being quiet, to just go ask what's wrong?
No. I feel like for me, it's not just maybe the woman who have the problem. It's both the man and the woman. That's why I'm saying sometimes maybe when you're married to somebody or in a relationship, right? You're not 100%, or you on that day maybe he's giving 80% and you have 20% left. So at times maybe we should ask what's wrong, and maybe if she says that you already know. Tell her that no, I don't know, give me more. Or say something so I get an idea of what's wrong. But
No,
then at the
I
same
think,
time,
yeah.
Agree.
I feel like women should also be more open when they're angry. They become so like hard heart. It's like now this person is an enemy. It's me versus you. So and it just becomes shambles. You know what I
And
mean?
Yeah.
if you
So
if
I
you
think
happen
that's
to
what
ask,
Cliff was saying. Cliff said, like he would ask what's wrong, and
says
okay, then
nothing.
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
says
that is
nothing.
why I'm saying to you, give us, tell women out there what goes on in your minds when this happens, and the damage and the cost to behaving like that, because it's very easy for women to be silent. It's very easy.
Yes, you feel like maybe you've done something wrong. Maybe you feel like, I don't know, maybe did I hurt her? Oh my gosh, like, oh my, I don't know, am I in trouble? Is the relationship
Yes,
Of
gonna
course,
yes,
absolutely.
obviously, you're in trouble.
But if I'm in trouble, don't say nothing. Because when I ask what's wrong, she says nothing. And then I
Yeah,
think, okay, there's nothing wrong. It's fine. Then
yeah,
tomorrow it's nothing again. She's silent. The next day, nothing. I'm like, nothing shouldn't be this heavy because now there's tension and, the mood is just so different. And nothing eventually turns out to be, oh, you did this and that
yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I see there's a
Many,
comment here from Tepo. Tepo says, using the silent treatment prevents people from resolving their conflicts in a helpful way.
Yeah.
So,
that
so
is
I
true.
suppose, yeah. So,
That is true
but Nikki
because
Samgay, what as women? Okay, so I'll ask you as a young person. Now I'm old, so it's not
now
applicable.
I do
So,
silence treatment. I do.
yeah, so
I don't
maybe
want to
for,
lie.
for men to understand, so for Cliff and for Ricardo to understand, and many other men out there, how does it
So,
benefit for women to be silent?
at least for me, when I do silent treatment, it's because I do not want to address the same issue over and over again, and I'm trying to avoid fights and trying to avoid saying things that I will regret tomorrow, right? So this is why I'm saying you're giving me a space so that I can calm down if I am very, very angry. And then when I'm ready, I will talk. Because like I said at the beginning, that it means give me a space, I am not ready. Because if you
Okay.
are forcing me to say something, then we're gonna stay the whole night discussing the issue.
Okay.
You see?
All right.
So,
Yeah. No, thanks. So Cliff, Ricardo, and many others. So you understand now that
Yeah.
the reason for the silent treatment is so that they don't say things that they will regret. Because not you, they say they don't want to say things that they will regret tomorrow. So I think for men out there, just be okay. You've messed up a bit, to allow her space to recover, and then she'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair
And
enough.
So my question now is, because remember, we're still trying to find solutions to these conflicts between couples. So do you think that when people go into a relationship, they go in thinking that me and this person, hey, we are same WhatsApp group, we are the same, we like the same things. And then when they discover that no, we actually are not the same and we don't like the same things, that's when conflict starts. So my biggest question there is, when people meet and they think that they are the same, do you think that one of them was changing themselves to please the other one so that they can be like they're the same? And then you can't pretend forever, Pell. So
Yeah.
once they are in the relationship, then the true colors have to come out. So what
Yeah.
do you think people meet because they're the same, or one of them sacrifices what is important to them to please the other one, and then they have problems?
Definitely. Yeah.
I feel like when you meet somebody for the first time, you try and give your best, like your best impression of yourself, to be like, no, this is like, I'm trying to get your attention. But then that at the same time, it's what I've learned is when you're starting a new relationship, don't try and go with expectations. When you go with expectations, you always like it's gonna lead to failure. You have to take it as it comes. Like, for me, okay, I'm this kind of person. I don't believe in 10-year plans when you don't have a project happening. Maybe if you have a project happening, you can plan for 10 years, but a relationship is not a project. That's what I believe. It's a thing that goes day by day, because maybe today I might be happy, but tomorrow I might wake up sad, and I feel like honesty in relationships is what is missing. It's like people lie to each other. I feel like if I was in a relationship and maybe you're not happy with me and you want to see somebody else, be open about it. Tell me, and leave. Make me make a choice if I'm gonna stay with you after you've seen somebody, or give me a choice to either walk away. Because maybe this is the end of me and you. Maybe I've come in your life and I've taught you the purpose that you were supposed to teach, to get from me, and now it's time for me to step aside and let you go to the next level of whatever you are now destined to be doing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So the problem is meeting someone for the first time is very, very difficult. People tend to be something that they're not because we're trying to impress. If Ricardo meets a person for the very, very, very first time and you are so into this person and you really, really want to win her heart, you are going to do something that you are not, because why? You are trying to impress her. Once you win her heart, you're going to show her your true colors. So that's the problem that people do in their first date. And like if we were to be honest with each other, even ladies, if I'm going to meet a guy for, I kid you not, I'm not going to be the Samu that you see now. I'm going to try my best to be on my best behavior so that the person can see that, oh, this is a very fine lady. She does this and this and this and that. When I know that I am ghetto.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to
So
impress.
now you want to be ghetto and now you have to show up. Then what happens? Because now you're in. Now the hook is in. So what do you do?
But
because
we can talk about this. Yes, that's where the problem starts. But let's just talk about it when we are in an early stage of this relationship.
No, I
say,
feel like,
but okay, you go, like Ricardo.
I feel like this problem starts when you're at school, before you're not dating, when you're trying to make friends. I feel like that's where this whole lying of bringing your best self starts. Like, you want to impress these guys because maybe they're a group and you also want to be a part of this group because all the ladies in the school likes these guys. So now I'm trying to cheat with these guys. Now I have to smoke, I have to drink, that kind of character. And then we end up growing up projecting ourselves like that to everyone we meet. We're trying to please them. We're trying to show that, no, I know what you know, but we don't want to learn what we don't know from somebody because we think that maybe I might not stand a chance.
Yeah.
That's
so Ricardo. So then if you're mentioning school, so that means we need to look even further deeper, because then how can we teach a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old to be themselves? Regardless of what everybody else looks like or behaves, to teach them that they're okay, they are complete as they are. You think that can help as they grow older, so that whether it's friends doing whatever or relationships, then they'll be fine with that?
Yes, I feel like it starts also at home. As a parent, you have to teach your kids principles. I feel like maybe teach them that, no, in this house, we don't do it like this, like this. You don't have to hit them all the time or try and discipline them by hitting them, but just communicate with them and tell them that, no, at this house, guys, we don't smoke, we don't drink, and if you see your friends doing that, think about me. Am I going to be happy if I see you doing that? Like for me, I would say, for instance, my mom helped me with that process of, like, when I was with my friends out there and I'm about to do something that I'm not supposed to be doing, I start thinking, oh, if my mom had to be here, this is not how I was raised. This is not how my people raised me. So I come back to my senses and be like, nah, guys, I don't smoke. So I'm out. Even if I seem not so cool, I'm okay with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're mentioning something also that's so important, ne? Because that's also where parents come in and adults just in general.
Yeah.
So are you saying that if all parents taught their kids certain values, family values, we don't know what they are. So in some families, they could be teaching them to fake it till you make it kind of thing, because not all parents are the same. So one parent could say, don't tell people the truth. You must always teach your way out. So how can we help even parents to say, whatever you do with your child impacts not only on your child but on other children as well, because it doesn't necessarily mean that parents are always right, and it doesn't mean that family values from all families are the correct values. So how do we mitigate that? How do we ensure that, because when you are born you're already complete,
Yes.
but you start to change because of society. You start to lose some of your intelligence because of society. So how do we retain that innocence, that fire within a child, so that
That's
by
where
the time they reach your age, they are carefree, they do what they follow their hearts?
that's where my what I was speaking about comes in. That nowadays I would have to say I kind of blame uh celebrities and um you know the shows that we watch, and the whole thing of the whole movement of learn how to be independent. That's where we get it wrong, because when you're a kid, you cannot be independent. You need people around you. So now we as people don't have clans anymore. Like, grow up in this whole clan, and you grow up around you. Like when you grow up in the Kasi, ne? You grow up around friends, and like that's your clan. That's the people you grow up with, and they give you a sense of identity, so that when you go out there, even if you meet new people like at school, it's not going to be too much pressure. But if you are a person that grows up by yourself and no friends and no self-esteem, you're going to be easily influenced wherever you go. So I feel like we have to create a community where kids can hang with each other and grow to a certain level with each other and understand and make those connections while they're still younger, so that when they go out there, they can distinguish for themselves what is wrong and what is right. Because I think as a parent, your job is to teach your child what the principles that you believe in, which are right or wrong. But then when they're out there, you're not there with them. So if you create that sense of Ubuntu with other kids, and now they stand for what you taught them, if they stand on that ground, no matter where they go, they're gonna stand on it. Even if somebody tries to take it out of them, it's still gonna be something that is now
There.
implanted. So
It's there.
that's what I feel.
All right. Okay. Any
But-
further input?
Yes, I like
But does it-
the word that you can go, Sam.
Some gay?
No, I'm just curious. Yes, can you hear me? But does it always work? I know that it's important that as parents we tell our kids that you are enough, and we try and instill values, and you make sure that you are responsible for your life. This is what you need to do. Don't do this, right? But does it always work? I remember when I was still in high school, my mom used to say, you need to choose. It's either boys or the education, because both of these things are like, one of it's going to be successful, and the other it's not. You can't have both. You need to choose,
For me,
right?
some
She has always been upfront to say, education, know what you want, study, do this, do this, do this, do this. Did I listen? No. I know what my mom said. I will remember it. I used to remember it even when I'm out there at school and doing whatever that I wanted to do. But I still dated a boy.
But
So
listen,
you're saying you're
though-
your own person. You're your own person.
Yes.
My-
and
my-
and
my
also,
point
I
is-
do agree with what Ricardo is saying, but it does not always work.
no, but then my point is, if you know what I said after I said your parents can teach you values, right? But then if let's say you are from a casino and let's say next door there's a young guy who stays there who's the same age as, let me say, as your son, right? And they playing together. Let's say if the whole community is playing together and you telling all these kids when they come to your house and just chill with your child that, no, you guys, you should be good, you should be doing this. And if his friends are doing it, kids are more influenced by their friends than their parents, as much as maybe parents don't realize it. So if you raise this clan of kids with these kind of principles that are good and they do them together, even one of them who doesn't want to do it, if majority of them is doing it and there's one bad one, he's gonna feel like, oh, I'm being left out, and they're gonna want to join that activity that's happening there, which is gonna help the installing. Where my point comes in of saying you can't let your child play by themselves. You have to make them interact with other kids and
You have
help
that
them
echo again.
I think it's coming from here.
Okay, let me mute.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's you have to help your child have friends while they're young and help implant principles with friends so that they understand when they see somebody their age doing something, they also want to do it. You as an adult, they won't listen to you because you guys are not on the same mentality. They're a kid and you're a grown up. You have problems. They don't have problems that you have. They have problems of wanting to play, and you're telling them about all this. Oh my gosh, and this is so much stress. I don't want to listen to this anymore. That's what I think. Because it's like, oh my gosh, sometimes when your mom is shouting at you, she'll shout at you and be like, oh, you know how I get this bread and what, and you're like, but that's not really my problem as a kid. I just want to go outside and play. So if you help them install principles with their friends, I think you have a bigger outcome.
You've done your
of
job.
Success. Yes.
So
Yeah.
Ricardo, all you're saying now is we must just, because we are old.
No, you must talk to your kids, but also talk to their
Talk to
friends.
them.
Yes,
Listen
to their
to them.
friends. Yes, and install those principles with your child and their friends, so they do them together. When they do them together, it's gonna have a higher success rate. Of course, maybe there's gonna be a few bad apples who are gonna choose their own way of seeing things. That's not a problem. But if majority of them are sticking to what you've taught them, it's gonna be a success. That's why sometimes I feel like maybe people in the olden days used to have a lot of kids, so that their kids grow up together and they install the
You're
principles.
starting another topic now. That's another topic.
No, but I'm just saying that's the sense I'm getting of like
There
back
was
in
no
the day.
internet. Okay, so there was no internet.
No, but yeah, there was no internet, but
There was no
for me-
internet, so therefore,
Mhm.
enough time.
No, but I feel like even if there was no internet, I feel like people back then, since they grew up
They
together,
didn't
right?
know
And let
better.
me say, they let's say if you have 6 kids, right? And you implementing your principles with all of them, right? If majority of them did it, maybe one didn't do it, but the success rate was higher. They followed the principle. I feel like people back then were strong and they were more together than what we are today.
Okay, point. All right,
Yeah.
Cliff, you wanted to say something?
As a parent, I think I've realized it's a thin line between smothering your children and being overprotective, and to the point that you are living vicariously through them. I think a lot of parents tend to do that, maybe as a way of just parental love. You want to protect and shield your children from what is out there in the world. We're always told, oh, be careful, because in the big world you're out there by yourself, and I'm training you because I've been through it. But like you were saying, kids, especially teenagers, I was a terrible teenager. I didn't listen to anybody. I thought I knew best. So the more she told me, don't do 1, 2, 3, the minute I'm in school with my friends, that's what we're going to do. And that curiosity to say, why is she even saying don't drink, don't smoke? What's wrong with that? I want to test it out for myself. But eventually it comes back to what Ricardo also said about AMA principles and what you teach them at an early age. Somewhere at the back of my mind, I knew that there must be some very bad consequences of becoming addicted to drugs, alcohol, and whatever. So I would do it maybe just out of curiosity and then come back. And being a grounded person, then your moral background, I think, wins eventually. But it's hard as a parent to want to let your kids experiment, get bent once or twice, and then the bent child will dread the fire. Then they know, like, oh, okay, there's some truth to what this old man was saying. Maybe let me listen to him. So I sort of let them off the hook once in a while, go and experience it. But I tell them, look, action always has consequence. So this is what will happen 99.9% of the time. But if you want to find out for yourself, you want to test the theory, go and don't come crying to me. So psychologically, it's a bit of a difficult thing. But I feel like you also don't need to overprotect your kids because they then become adults who haven't experienced anything. Then at the age of 30, for example, they're now behaving like a 12-year-old and only finding out life. So
Awesome. All right. Okay. Samke, your hand was up. Samke, you frozen again. So I can't believe time flies.
But
time flies. I can't believe we are like 4 minutes away. So we need to wrap this up. Yeah, Samke?
Yes, I wanted to say quickly, I believe with what Ricardo was saying, but then again, it's always it's tricky because how I raise my kids will be different from how my neighbor is raising their kids. So if I'm trying to say to my neighbor's kids, do this and this and this and that, maybe it's not what they've been hearing from their parents. So it is true. And I agree with it, but it does not always work, unfortunately.
Which leads to my point exactly of why in the older days they had a lot of kids and they grew together as a clan so that people that are raised under one roof can have the same principles and teach them to their kids' kids and their kids' kids, and it's easier like that. But I understand what you mean.
So, Ricardo, if you were to be with your friends or if that happened, and all of you are on your cell phones, on the internet, looking at something, but you're all looking at different things and you all believe in different things, then how would we handle that?
For me, it's like, I'll be curious and I'll ask them, what are you looking at? And if it's something I don't understand, I'll ask them to teach me and to see if it's something that maybe I can incorporate.
Today.
Yes, so I can incorporate it in my life. Maybe it can help me, or if it doesn't help me, then I just leave it. And I try and talk to my friend and tell them that, oh man, where you going now? I don't know about that path, but hey, if that's what you've chosen.
Thanks, Ricardo. So just in closing, I want you to consider one thing and maybe just give me your opinions. So in relationships, especially with young people, you've mentioned celebrities and, TV shows and stuff. In relationships, what has the most impact? So if you have a couple and they support each other, like as in, nursing each other too much, versus a couple where they tell each other whatever comes, so they're real with each other. If you look at the two scenarios, at the two couples, the one where they are always, tiptoeing around each other just to keep the smiles, and the one where they fight and they challenge each other, but they still, both couples, they love each other. Which one do you think for young people could be one of the best relationships, or should they experience both support and challenge, or do you think only the supportive ones where they tiptoe, or the ones where they challenge each other but then they grow? Your opinion in closing.
For me personally, I think I would advise them, well, I would say it's better they go with the honest one, because I would rather have a relationship where it's not tiptoeing and trying to watch my actions. I would rather be a person who says what comes to my mind, like, oh, if you did something wrong, I feel like it's my duty, or it's my good courtesy to tell you that no, what you did was wrong. And I think you can improve it like this, or I don't know, maybe find a way to work around it, because I've never seen it. So let's learn together how we don't come back to the same problem.
Thank you.
That kind of relationship.
Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks, Ricardo. Samge?
Yeah, me too. I'll rather not tiptoe in a relationship, and I think it's not a healthy one. Rather, allow a relation to be in a relationship with someone who's going to be honest with you, so that you can grow and not make those same mistakes. That's me.
Thank you. Cliff?
Yes, it's all about balance. I think nobody would be comfortable where they always have to tiptoe and with an oversensitive partner. If it's both, the challenge and the support, when I need support and then I know my spouse is there for me. But if I, as a human being, make errors or I've got some short-sightedness in a situation and she can correct it without, like impacting upon you negatively, then that's the best relationship. But for our children, like for my 16-year-old, I'd want to tell her to expect both the negative and the positive in a human being. No one is perfect like the celebrities that you see on TV. Even they are also fighting and getting divorced every day. So to go in realistically and expect a bit of both is the best way to a long lasting and fulfilling relationship.
Thank you. All right. Okay, please mute. We have come to the end of our session. We have heard the insightful messages from our young people, Ricardo, Samge, and Cliff. And I think we have learned quite a lot today. And if you look at their conclusions right now, we can see that in a relationship, it's important to have people that that love each other, but they can also be brutal with each other by telling each other the truth, but at the same time loving one another. So that means it's important to have both support and challenge in a relationship, because that is what helps the relationship to grow. Because otherwise, then if it's too much of one thing, then the relationship may not survive. And I'm hoping that the young people out there have learned something and they can continue to contribute and just be mindful when they get into relationships to bring their full self into the relationship and not expect the other person to carry them and to make them happy. Because in that way, if everybody brings their own thing into the relationship, then they get to grow together. They get to heal together and grow together. So thank you very much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you again in our next session. Bye. Good night.